Peace, YouTube. Peace, YouTube. This is Flavroon coming to you today with another topic of discussion. I'll wait until a few people check in and we'll get in the conversation. Hello, my wonderful earthlings and my others. So, check onto the conversation. I know some of you have already RSVP'd. Have some of you RSVP'd to go and bum rush Area 51, the military installation? Hey, hey everyone. Hey Darius. Hey Mel. Hey Dee. Hey beautifully melanated. Hey Just. Hey Cadillac. You devious. What do they call us? UFO enthusiasts. So we're gonna check into the hey doll face. Hey Jessica. Oh, you all, you all out on Area 51. So anyway, we're going to get into conversation about over 750,000 people have RSVP'd on a what should have been a joke on FB, declaring that they will be September 20th at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. They plan to bum rush the Area 51, which is a military installation that was created roughly about the 40s, late 40s, 50s during the Cold War. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So let's check on in. Everybody check on in. So welcome to the new paradigm. As you know, there are shakes and shivers. We had another earthquake. Seattle had an earthquake. As you know, there was a boom over here in Orlando. We still haven't identified a big explosion, which sounded in Orlando. We also had blackouts in Manhattan and some ATM machines that were down. We've had shakes and shimmers in California, and we've had some flooding going on to our New Orleans family. We have a lot going on planet Earth at this time. So it's interesting at this particular time, right on the precipice of what's going through a lunar eclipse, which is Tuesday. And then we're on the 31st, we're having what we consider a black moon. So we've got a lot of conversations, but the conversation of topic today is Area 51. So let's check into the conversation. So we have Area 51 again, which is a military installation. It was thus became very popular in the, I personally, I think 40s, late 40s, 50s during the Cold War. We have a group of people, what started out as a joke, regarding Pelagians, topics of Pelagians, and a stimulus that came from spoofing that ended up being a stimulus to over 750,000 people signing up to basically crash Area 51 on September 20th, at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. So we're going to get into the gematria of that. Remember, the date is very relative. Also, we're going to get into plausibility that this is a psyop. I always people give the warning that, you crashing a site and whoever stimulated it. Remember, we have psyops that will create waves of misinformation in order to trap a group of people that they feel to be, insidious. Us UFO enthusiasts and alien busters, they always like to get us collectively in one area. So you have to be very careful. I personally think this is a psyop. I'm actually quite intrigued that 750,000 people have signed up to go and storm Area 51. So basically, I broke down the numbers of the 11, it's going to be on September the 20th. So when I break down September 20th, 1990, go figure, of 2019, it comes up to a 23 and ends up being a 5. 5 is very relative this year. For some reason, that 5 is showing up is a vibrational number that's showing up, especially when I went to Brazil, came back. 5 has been a number that's been perpetuated lately as time. 5 is very strong this year. 5 means independence of thought and action, a unwillingness to conform. That is generally what the 5 means. Also, we have the number, the word area, which I broke down for Area 51. which oddly or intriguingly enough comes up to the number 13, which we know we utilize. It's a power number. So remember, a lot of the dark Kabbalists have been utilizing the number 13 to do a lot of tragic things. A lot of occult rituals are based on either the 13 or the inverted 31. It's very interesting that Area 51 in itself, in gematria terms, comes out to the number 13, which doesn't shock me, but I find it very interesting as I look it up that it represents that. So, you know, we, big up to Kiki. Kiki actually brought this up to me. I didn't realize this was an issue coming up. I got back from Brazil and I heard a little bit of it, but I didn't realize to the degree that people were actually serious about basically bum rushing Area 51. And I had to find out, where did this all start? Because remember, we have, what is it considered? We have those psyops that we know purposefully will get in the midst of something and utilize the fact that many of us are in the awareness of ourselves, of our species, of other beings who have been coexisting here, and the government's complicity and participation in interacting with other beings without letting the populace know. This we've known over the years. Many of us who are from the UFO and ET community have very well blown the cover off of this. A lot of intellists, a lot of whistleblowers have lost their lives in basically sharing information regarding Area 51 back in the days, along with a lot of more pinnacle and poignant areas that you won't hear about, especially in New Mexico. So, especially Dulce, New Mexico, which to my knowledge, they're still doing experimentation and hybrid programs. And some of you telepathically are able to communicate with some of these hybrid spider, human, snake, alligator people that are locked up in facilities deep into the ground. Okay, so as I further started to research, and like I said, big up to Kiki. Kiki kind of made me aware that this was actually catching wind, that there were a group of people, and not just a group of people, but several hundreds and thousands of people actually signing up. And out of that 750,000 people who have signed up to bum rush Area 51, I personally think it'll probably end up being about maybe 500 people or more out of that great number. I have a feeling that the majority of people won't be going, but it will be a big enough number to cause a little bit of an upheaval in that area. Now, to my knowledge, Area 51 has been muted many years ago. As far as, I think in the late 80s, to my knowledge and to my intel, Area 51 isn't a hot region anymore. They've moved a lot of the reversed engineered crafts and a lot of the dark ops programs that they were utilizing at the time that were causing a lot of magnetic shifts over there. Many people had, if you watch any of the documentaries back when, you'll see that a lot of people had issues with their compasses when you enter into the arena or around Area 51. A lot of weird kind of paranormal type of activity when it comes to people's batteries on their phone dying, flashlights losing life. A lot of the basic basic type of activity that comes along with a shift in the magnetic field based on being in close proximity to a lot of these hyperdimensional crafts or beings that aren't from our realm. So to my knowledge, Area 51 has been muted many years ago. They have slowly but surely moved a lot of the higher end technology and the beings that were working alongside of these military installation many years ago have been relocated to parts of Utah, and there are other parts that probably I can't even identify. But I do know that Area 51 is still, because of the influx of energy and the magnetic field still not actually becoming stable, is still heavily guarded. So I know the military said that they're preparing for all you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs people going to Area 51. And I would like to say that as much as I find it very fascinating, and I actually support going and commanding that we know exactly what they're doing, especially if we're paying our taxes to develop a lot of these secret secret space programs that they have been utilizing for years under our noses and without our knowledge or without being forthcoming or transparent. So that being said, you have to take in consideration whoever started this wave in order to bum rush Area 51, I would be quite skeptical and a little concerned that it wasn't another group that was governmentally based or agent based or dark op based that are basically getting a whole group of people who actually know, you ever watch Men in Black, all they have to do is have that amount of people who personally know that there are beings inside and existing with us in a very close proximity, and all they got to do is push that button and be like, boop, and you magically forget who you are, why you were there, or even your basic information that you collected over the years. I'd be very mindful of going to an installation that is still heavily guarded. Also, I'd be concerned about which psyop. I'd be concerned that this was a psyop developed purposefully, just like in Independence Day. I don't know if many of you got a chance to see Independence Day. And you remember in the movie, this is the one with Will Smith, and he went, everybody heard about what was going to happen with the aliens coming, and they thought the countdown was aliens coming benevolently to come and join with them and give them a technology. And a group of people decided to go put signs and stand on the top of, what was it, the Empire State Building? Was it the Empire State Building, I think it was? I forgot what building it was. They were all standing up there with their signs like, hey, we're here. And as soon as the countdown happened, that ship that was above kindly and unfortunately, disseminated a weapon that ended up, disintegrating people and the entire building. So I'm just telling you, family, I think it's a psyop. I think it's very impressive that we've collected 750,000 people too overtly, and I think it was up to 300,000 people who said they were interested in going. This is a big win. And as much as I am excited at the fact that they're now, after years of many thinking that we were insane or that we were literally, delusional, that it's plausible and possible that we're living on one planet in a megaverse with multiple planets, and to think that we would be the only ones living here when we've had a host of UFOs that have been sighted from the days of ancient Sumerian times to Kemet that have been noted and documented on the walls. And many of even the religious establishments and the books have noted, the chariots in the sky of fire that were seen and witnessed by many back in the days and have been in the archives of your Bibles, your Torahs, Talmuds, Quran. Your biblical books have documented that there were beings here, whether it's the Nephilim, whether it's any beings that look gray. We've had many details in the archives that we've been interacting with beings, not only covertly, but very overtly, especially in ancient times. So, I really encourage those to really definitely command for information and ask for the release of, the X-Files, which I think the United Snakes has released quite a few files. I think they released them about 2011, if I'm not mistaken. Alf. Do you remember Alf? Somebody said Alf. That's crazy. I forgot about Alf. But I think it was 2011. Many of our UFO enthusiasts would know the date, I think, of some of the releases. UK also released information. Obviously, the countries that are way more transparent are Russia, Asia. They haven't had a problem keeping the information. They said release Alf. Release Alf. He's got the funniest jokes in the world. Remember V. V is also, remember, many times you have, say Shrek. Remember, every time that you get these movies like V, if you remember the old version of V and the more present day V, if you remember when the ships were coming, they came as friendly people, they were healing people, they came as ships of friendliness, and they came looking like the very beings of the planet that they were visiting. But meanwhile, under the skins of these reptilian invaders, they had a quite different look to them. And also, they had another agenda behind their seemingly human-looking skins. So let's just state this. I think I had this conversation a while ago, is that, for people who are very skeptical that ETs or extraterrestrials or interterrestrials or interdimensional beings are living amongst us, the first conversation is like, why wouldn't they hurt us? What makes you think that beings that supersede us in conscious intellect and technology would have to hurt us in order to be able to benefit? Wouldn't it be beneficial if you're going to a country, and I mean going to a planet where people are very limited cognitively, to be able to extort or to take advantage of their resources, that you use the very beings that are unaware to utilize mining or collecting information, or even biological samples in order to utilize them as a way to create or to manipulate something? It wouldn't have to be something so overt as them killing everyone. What would be the point of that? They would come to the planet, they would cloak themselves. And remember, in ancient times, many of these beings didn't cloak themselves, including the crocodilians, which I call the draconians. If you look on the Mayan temples, you will see remnants of bipedal crocodilian beings that were standing straight up, that were walking amongst the people. It's only in the last few hundreds of years that you've seen a suppression of the actual visual of these beings that were living and coexisting amongst the main humanoid population without cloaking. Now, probably because after a while, their presence and the way that they looked were putting them in a vicarious situation where it made them more susceptible for perhaps people eventually waking up and wanting to overthrow beings, and understanding that these beings were utilizing them for some form of slavery or what have you. But do realize that the conversation about aliens or beings that are coexisting here hasn't been a present day conversation. This has been something that has been known for eons. And I'm really impressed that we now have a populace of earthlings that are now aware, awake, and willing to command the truth about the dark ops that many governments have suppressed based on the intel that they've gained by privately soliciting technology with beings behind the scenes without many of the very permission that, or the transparency that should have been given to us with whatever they were doing behind closed doors or closed ships. So big up to those who have signed up to go and bum rush Area 51. I just would say, listen, it's okay that you sign up, but you got to be careful, because we don't know who initially stimulated this overt, bum rushing of the area. And you do know that it is still under surveillance and still under guard. So you do know that the government will have a field day with those going there. And I personally think it could be like, shoving the sheep over there, basically people who are aware of ETs or otherwise, and could be doing a coup d'etat with the Men in Black technology and snafu all of your memories away. Or perhaps it could be something a little more malevolent, like they need a group of people to take and have for food source or fuel for their upcoming, exodus off this planet. So I just would be mindful for those who are deciding to go. I don't think this, especially coming from this community, I don't think it's a very smart decision. I think anything so overt and so publicized could only put you in harm's way. And if it's allowed and allotted to go down, I personally think it's PSYOP organized. And I would be careful putting yourself in that position where you could possibly be, your memories could be snafu'd, or your body can be utilized for some sort of, real deal invasion, because you don't know what the intent is if it was PSYOP initiated. Remember the Muppets in space? Yeah, it could very well be a trap. And just if you use common sense, when have you ever seen a time where something like that? They shut down YouTube channels for leaks. They've shut down Facebook They shut down my Facebook page on Aquarius. Remember my Anunnaki page? They shut it down 4 times just for me talking about ETs. So you're telling me that they're leaving a page up with a grand invitation to Area 51 and it's going down uninfiltrated. That page is still up. People are still signing up. They've got your name, they've got your address, and they got what you watch. So I would be very mindful of signing on to anything with especially a very hostile situation right now. We are in the crux of a change of hands of power. There are wars going on under the ground, under the waterways, and in the skies. If you think for a moment that your handy dandy FB, which is basically like the FBI, is going to allow you to sign up to go and bum rush a military installation that is still being guarded, you best believe that it is a setup. So I would just be mindful for all who, listen, I am definitely in support of learning and getting information, but just be smarter, be much more self-aware, and be careful of yourself, because this is a war that's not necessarily silent for all, but it is silent for some. So if you think you're going to walk over to Area 51 untouched, unbothered, and it's going to go down that way, I would beg you to think a little differently. So for all those in support of the truth, who are basically been in alignment with knowing and accepting that we've always had and always will be in contact with other beings, but in order to gain the information that's required or that is desired from your governmental officials, that is not the way you're going to get it. And if you think that they will hand over information or they're going to let you break into military installations that were meant to hold ETs that have a heightened amount of intelligence and telekinesis powers and technology beyond your greatest comprehension, you are highly mistaken. Okay? Because many of you, though I know you to be hybrids, big up to all the hybrids on here. Big up to all the crocodilians and the Anunnaki and the Pelagians and the Arcturians and all you overlay grays and all you other beings, you Lyrians, Syrians, all you, Nega serpent, all you Andromedans. I so respect you. But the hybrids already know they're not going anywhere where they can be imprisoned again. Because many of our people, many of our hybrids broke out of Dodge. They're not trying to go back to the scene of the crime. So this is just basically for people who are novices in this field, because any of us who come from the hybrids or have been seeded or are in contact with other beings know we aren't going to be set up. I'm going to stay in my happy little bubble spaceship, my macabre, which is protected by gargoyles, and stay in alignment with my higher beings and my higher self and my guides, and stay out of harm's way during a whole war that's going on. You need to be a little more clever, and signing your name on something, putting your full name where they could follow you, isn't very clever. So for all those 750,000 people who have signed on to something that is saying they're going to partake in doing something criminal against the government, you aren't very clever to sign on to something like that when they could just follow the lead and the non-illuminated patch and find you and all that you're connected to. So I'm just saying, just be a little more clever. It isn't anything wrong with you wanting to know more. I support the necessity to find out and to command information, but that isn't the way to do it. And if you aren't smart enough to know a trapdoor when you see it, I don't really think you're part of our community. That might be a bunch of empty seaters who signed on to that RSVP, because you're RSVPing for a setup, and you don't know what's going down there. But we know from coming from this community, there ain't nothing good going on when you go to a facility that's being guarded heavily by governmental officials that have been guarding aliens that are sometimes hostile. You're a piece of pie and taking into captivity, or being played. If you want to watch a movie to put you in more perspective, go and watch the old what is it? The old Twilight Zone. It's like from the 50s or 60s, and it's to serve man. You'll see what ETs do when they're looking for food sources, because there are groups coming here that are malevolent types of ETs who see you like the cows that you eat, see you as cattle. And all they need is a whole bunch of cows that they could bring back, because many of these beings have to leave here, and they may be short on food, and they may be looking for another meal, a traveling meal, like a meal for the ship ride back to eons away, light years away. And they're looking for at least 700, 500,000 people to put in nice plastic wraps so that they can snack on you while they're traveling to their light system. So just be careful signing on to these covert systems of psyops that are setting you up to be a lunchable. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't want to make it sound so morbid, but anytime you have military that can hold down malevolent beings that have heightened amount of technology, there's a reason why they're okay with you going and signing on Facebook. When I saw as many people who signed on and there was that Facebook page is still up, I knew it was a psyop. I didn't know really what the agenda is, but knowing the war that's going on right now for our beautiful planet as Earthlings, there isn't any good going on if you go over to Area 51. And just a hint, there isn't anything special at Area 51. It's all the other areas that they moved all the technology. And those are places you won't know about, because if you do, chances are you're not breathing. So stay in your lane, stay in your happy little macabre, support the intel, and remember, the age of Aquarius will bring the truth. Everything's coming down to you gaining information, but sometimes when you jump ship too quick and there isn't a life jacket or a lifeboat below you, there may be a ocean full of sharks, very hungry, knowing that the desperateness of people taking information before it's really coming on right at the precipice when information is about to be flooded into our intel, there's going to be a feeding frenzy. I'm sorry. I don't want to pop anybody's bubble, but I'm here to protect our family. And I know sometimes we get excited and we get really, really encouraged by our own personal need to find out more and to basically be open and receptive to doing things more proactively. But part of the age of Aquarius coming online is all you have to do is be in a self-awareness, and all information will come to you. You don't have to go to it. So anytime you see them leading you in one direction, you best believe, if you've not seen them, listen, if you've been on Flurbrun's channel for the last 5 years and you've seen every time I brought something up that wasn't necessarily what others wanted me to know, that our transmission was broken up, videos disappeared, beings showing up on the show, whispering. When you see things like that and you don't see something on a channel that's supposedly blowing spots, I would question there might be some agent behind that channel. Because even to my knowledge, big up to Barry Littleton. I was talking about Barry Littleton. Like, I'm talking to Barry Littleton. This is how much we about that life. I'm talking to Barry Littleton on the phone. He's telling me everything that's going on in a SETI. We're talking, chatting it up, catching it up. And I hear a big explosion in Orlando. My daughters heard it. Boom! Do you think I stopped? I was like, what's that? Barry was like, oh, it's probably a bomb in a time continuum. It's okay. And then we just continued our conversation. That's the kind of life we about. So there's a lot of things going on right now that are in support of the change and evolution of the planet, of Mother Gaia. And there isn't anything extra you have to do other than just be in your own heightened self-awareness in order to get the intel. If you feel like you have to do something outside of yourself that is extra, that's a setup. So just be careful, because, Barry's going to bring up some information about, some of the intellists, and a lot of these people walking around who are actually, I know it's cherry season. It's always, I came back. There's no cherries when I was in Brazil. At least I wasn't in cherry season. There's cherries. I'm so excited to have cherries. Anyway, you know, there's a lot of intellists walking around with bodyguards. You know, I heard Corey Good, and Barry's going to bring up some wonderful information. And I love, love, love that he went to the conference in the setting. And big up to anyone who's joining the conference for me in October. I have the dates. The place might almost be procured once I get the date. I have the date. Once I get the place procured, we're going to have our wonderful conference that I will have in New Orleans. And, you know, New Orleans right now is going through another, I personally think this was geoengineered to soften the ground over there in New Orleans. I feel like where it's set, they're purposefully flooding that area. This is my personal opinion. Why is maybe to create more ability to kind of shake up the inside. We've got a lot of things going on. We have beings that are working for humanity, and we have beings that are quite in opposition of humanity. So just, you know, stay in alignment and stay in that case. But the conference will be the 31st to the 3rd of October. Once I secure the place, you will get the invitations. Remember, I'm real covert. I'm about this life, so you won't get the location unless you book your stay for the conference. We protect our own. Your curiosity doesn't have anything to do with me. If you about this life, you know, and for all those who booked last year who got a little nervous to come, because there were people who booked who never came, who paid for their tickets. If you have a chance to contact me, I am okay, because I'm about that. If you paid last year and you were afraid to come or you didn't come, then you will have a free pass to come to the lecture, so to the conference. So if last year you couldn't go, you felt a little nervous, you felt like the Martians were going to come and get us, which we had a good time last year. Big up to everyone who came to the conference last year. You will be able to come free and clear, because I think it's only fair. So, you know, you just hit me up, say, you know, Fleur Bruin, I couldn't come, because, and it doesn't matter, because if you're meant to come, you're going to come regardless. Okay. So for all those who are deciding to end up, oh, Carlos, you're going to do security. Carlos, you're going to do security with Kirk again. I'm going to get Kurt and Carlos to do it. And I'm going to get some beefed up Andromedans to come too. Don't play games with me. There isn't any psyops in my camp, at least not now. And if there is, they're going to pay before they go. They can't even come. So for those who are deciding to join in the Area 51 bum rush, I would just, as one of our family, I would just advise against it. Just be mindful. And again, when you put your name on things that are psyop prompted, they will try to incept. And like I said, we're at a beautiful time on the planet. So much is being revealed, and so much is going to be revealed, because remember, 2020 is coming. 2020 is when full vision's here. So be patient, family, because I told you, and 2020 is when everything will be seen as it is. You think you're getting intel now? You think that we're seeing everything now? Oh, I've got an intel from the Andromedans, and what you're about to see and experience, and those secrets that have been held for years and eons, everything's popping out the closet. Even those old brassieres you have from 1982, those are popping out the closet too. Oh, let me keep my bosoms. So it's going to be an amazing year. And also we're on the precipice of another lunar eclipse. So if you think anything, the swamp is about to be drained. So big up to our family in New Orleans. I love you. I don't really say anything much about New Orleans because I don't want to give any more negative propaganda to what's going on there. We support you. We know that a lot of our wonderful sea stars and sun stars are safe because we send them positive energy secretly and privately, and in order to stay away from being incepted. So we love you, and also we will see you in New Orleans. So we will see you in October. For all those who are not to New Orleans, hopefully you get a chance to go to the conference. And I'm trying to get the best DJ. She's one of the best female DJs. I'm trying to procure. I'm keeping it very, listen, I'm trying to make this so divinely in sisterhood There's a DJ, I love her. She's the bomb.com young C-star. I'm trying to procure her because, you know, anything that has to do with Florida, you know, as much as we do conference and we want to learn and we get information and knowledge, Triple Sag likes knowledge along with fun. So we're going to have music, great food, great company. Last time it was like meeting our family members from like eons ago, all our mothership family that we haven't seen since we've been dropped off on Earth. We got a chance to visit them and see them at the conference. So I look forward to meeting many of you. Big up to Barry Littleton. His videos are coming out. Make sure you check out Barry's new videos on Black extraterrestrials. He actually has a video coming out and it's going to be amazing. So I want to make sure when his video comes out, do check out his videos. He was at the Ascetti Ranch. A lot of intel, things that we normally had thought of have changed. I love that he went to the ranch. Some of our C-stars were there, were from our neck of the woods, so it was nice to see a support system of those who are part of our family, supporting those who have been part of our Intelist sect. So it's gonna be interesting. Yeah. So mind your business. Stay away from Area 51. I already told you because something about to pop off over there. I don't know if Men in Black is gonna go there with the little buttons and put you to sleep. I don't know if they're gonna take you on ships as a handy snack, as a Lunchable. I don't know what's going on at Area 51, but there isn't any good for you going over there, nor Dulce, New Mexico. Stay away. I remember Dr. Delbert Blair, especially when I started to really get into excitement about going to places where I knew there was going to be activity. I remember talking about Dulce, New Mexico, and he was like, there isn't any good with you going over there to Dulce, New Mexico. That's what he said. He was like, there's experimentations. You could caught up there. You may be caught in a loop. He said, stay away from Dulce, New Mexico. They're doing all kinds of experimentation. And remember, Dr. Deborah Blair was in contact with Alpha Centaurians. And what I loved about him, but made it very interesting, is that as many years as Dr. Blair was part of the intel of the UFO community, there wasn't one UFO conference or UFO gathering that invited the Dr. Delbert Blair, who had a plethora of information. And even now, when we talk to some of the so-called intellists in the UFO conferences, there wasn't even any acknowledgement that he existed. And that goes to show you that don't believe the hype. Not everybody who goes to these conferences is actually an intellist or actually in contact with other beings or accepting of people who are in contact with other beings. There are a lot. I will say that because we met a lot of them, a lot of amazing people giving great information about the PSYOPs, the groups of ETs that have been interacting with us for many, many years, many of the different ships and technology that's been utilized. I want to keep that as fact, that we have amazing intellists, but there has been obviously a blackout of certain people, and you know who they are, copper, more indigenous, especially women of color. You rarely hear or we give an invitation to any of these conferences based on the fact that I think there's a little nervousness because remember, beings contact their own, and I think one of the things is the people on this planet that have been the most suppressed are in contact with beings that look very much like them, like myself. And I think that's very frightening to a brotherhood that has been in power for a long period of time and in contact with beings who have been in the position to keep that suppression that isn't any longer able to occur. So I find it very interesting that that isn't happening, but it's all good in the hood because I told you as Flurboom, I don't have to be invited to anybody's conference. I just make my own. So big up to Barry Littleton, who joined us last year. Big up to a plethora. So there should be some new people at the conference, one revisited and one that you know very well. So after I secure the location, once I secure the location, then the invitations will be set out there. So be a little patient. I have a particular beautiful location. I'm waiting to procure it, and once I do, bam, we will be gathering together. And again, the tentative dates, the definite dates are the 31st to the 3rd. It will probably just be 2 days of the conference, and for those who are staying on site or around the area, you know how we hang out. We like to do movies and hang out together. It's like a family reunion from the motherships. So we like to do a couple of activities while we're together. So I just wanted to touch base on that. I hope that all of you stay quite vigilant, safe. For all our family in DC, we also got some intel from DC that they, I don't want to talk about it here, but for our DC family, just stay vigilant, look to the skies, listen to, you know, if you start seeing black helicopters, you know, all over the place, you know, just, you know, as you know, prepper style, you know what to do in a time of distress. And many of you have been a party with me for a long period of time, so you already know we about this life. We actually prepared for this. So I look forward to the release we're going to do on the 16th on the partial lunar eclipse, to release a lot of the narcissists and demons. Big up to my twin flame, who's very supportive and allows for Flora Moon to show up just as she is. I will continue to keep twinning until twinning isn't a fashion anymore. So I love you, family. Have an amazing day. And I'm probably going to go to Instagram to talk to you beautiful people. So if you want to do an after party, I'm probably going to go to Instagram now to talk about some diabolicalness on the other scene, because you know I'm a little more freestyle on Instagram. So give me a couple minutes. I'll probably go on Instagram and I'll check you guys out later. I love you. Peace.